This GSI Football Spotlight brought to you by Uncle D's Sports Bar and Grill. Uncle D's, it's where your friends are.
This time you'll notice there's probably a little bit more of a slant toward defense. I think this year going in, we really wanted to kind of sign a few more linebackers because we didn't sign any last year. At least, there's going to be some good kids in that walked on. But as far as giving some scholarship money, linebackers was kind of an emphasis there a little bit to go get some guys. We're always looking for O-linemen. And so that's kind of the general theme of this class. The first kid on the list, Darian Bass, happens to be related to a guy in this room, David Bass. And we're hoping that that's a big, a big thing to put on somebody to say he's going to be like his brother, especially when his brother's David Bass. But we think Darian's a very good athlete. He was a very hotly recruited athlete, one of the more hotly recruited athletes we had on the board this year. Had some FCS offers. There was some Division 1A flirtation. There was actually one of our rivals, I'm not going to say which one, that actually did a home visit. And that big fella sat in a room with them as they did the home visit, and that really helped our cause, I think. But Darian, right now we're looking at probably playing D-end. I think he's been kind of an outside linebacker, but the frame is close to what David's was. I don't think it's quite as big. I mean, David may differ with me, but he doesn't have the big hair. That makes him look a little smaller. But we think Darian's going to be a really good player, and he's a great kid, just like his brother. George Belcher, again, along the lines of what Darian is. George probably was the most hotly recruited athlete we went after this year. He had every FCS you can think of offered him a full ride. Northern Iowa, Missouri State, you name it. Those people offered him full rides. We had to go against several of the MIAA people, and George's, again, I don't want to put tags on him, but he's very similar to Yami Ali as far as athletically what he can do. It's about 6'2", 210, 205. Runs really well, is very physical. We're anticipating some great things out of George. Aaron Bubb, a very physical O-lineman out of Lincoln Southeast High School. He's 6'4", 285. He was on a state champion team. Aaron was one of the earlier commits for us and actually did some recruiting for us a little bit with kids he knew. He's one of those kids. He's just got a real gregarious personality. How about that word right there? That was pretty good, wasn't it? Yeah. Bill Lowe would never come up with that word. But Aaron Bubb is going to be a very good lineman for us. To be a future tackle. Blake Burson, a local kid here at Savannah. I've known about Blake for a while. I've enjoyed watching him play down through the years. A very physical kid, kind of both ways guy. He's a real serious kind of kid. Matter of fact, going into the summer, we were kind of out because he was going to go to the Marine Corps. And I talking to his coach, Coach Mark Cole, and he just said, he goes, Coach, you just probably need to kind of work on him and see if you can recruit him a little bit and see if you can get his change his mind. And I think as we did it, he started thinking, I want to play football. And when we do a physical skills test out here when they come on their visits, and Blake hit every one of the marks we're looking for in a linebacker, and he's got a lot of talent. I anticipate him playing. Joey Capel, a very athletic linebacker out of the Wichita area, Garden Plain. He played tailback for them, so he's like a 4'6", 40 kid. Again, his vertical was like 34 inches, very physical. And a lot of these linebackers are all in that same category: kids that run, and kids that hit, and kids that tackle. Blake Dill's a local kid here from Savannah. He's a kid. He's a lot like Kyle Knox, I think. That's my comparison. The kid on our team now. Blake makes a lot of circus catches, has big hands. He's one of those kids that just makes plays. You're just not sure how he makes them. Sean Halloran is a center from Christian Brothers College, CBC, in St. Louis. Him and Darian Bass were high school teammates. They were the team that played Blue Springs South in the state championship game. He knows some form of Korean martial arts. We're not sure what it's called. I've never heard of it, and I wasn't going to argue about it, what it was called with him. But he's a good athlete. He's obviously being a martial arts guy. He's good with his hands, and we anticipate him being a good player. Brock Kimball is kind of thin right now. He's a kid out of Washington High School. We got a kid named Nick Williams from there last year. He's very physical. He's probably, of all the kids, he's the one that may be more collision oriented than any of them. Will just really, again, he's thin, but he just throws his bones right in there and knocks people around, and we're anticipating him filling out and being a bigger kid and being a real impact player. Donovan Mathis kind of probably took a back seat today at Hillcrest High School with his signing with Mr. Dorrell Green Beckham, but we like him a lot. He's an outside linebacker kind of kid. We're hoping maybe to make him a safety. He was actually a six-man in West Texas, a six-man high school quarterback. And so he's athletic enough that we think he can be a safety, and he's a very good tackler in the space. Hunter Pack is again along the lines of what I'm talking about over and over again, physical, collision-oriented kid out of Kickapoo High School, safety. Kurt Petrol, D-tackle from Liberty. He's 6'3", 285, very, a lot of his weight's contained in his waist down. Again, when we tested, a lot of that goes into that. He ran a 4.4 pro agility. And I want you to know, 285, 4.4 pro agility, 4.4s we're looking for out of linebackers. Colton Thompson, more physically blessed than a lot of the rest of them, really big upper body kid, probably one of the stronger kids. Played fullback also at Lincoln High School in Council Bluffs. Again, the word physical comes out, and we're looking for physical football players. I think that's something you really can't teach. They have it or they don't. Blake Vandenberg is 6'6". That's not in the misprint. He's about 220, 225, gigantic hands, catches the ball extremely well. I think his best football is still ahead of him. Again, it's another kid we got, Leonard Wester last year out of his high school that's gigantic too, so there's something in the water there that makes kids bigger frames. Mackenzie Wishman, another big tall kid out of La Vista High School in Papillion. Again, 6'6", 235. Kind of reminds us a little bit of Brad Davidson, who played for us about 3 years ago. Maybe not quite as springy and athletic as what Brad was, but probably plays harder on a consistent basis than what Brad, and again, we think he's going to be a kid that fills into 250, 260 and becomes a big old kid. Transfer-wise, Nick Williams, a kid from UNO that had set out last year. He played linebacker, the Sam linebacker at Nebraska Omaha. Started some. He's friends with Mike Yardley, who's with us now. Right now we're going to try him at tight end. He was a tight end at a high school just because of overall depth. We feel like we need somebody there, and we're going to see what he can do there. Good kid, runs well, looks the part. Hopefully he'll fill out and do something there. If not, we'll put him back where he used to be. But I think there's no reason to believe he can't be a tight end. And then Kevin Hart, a kid we signed, a junior college O-lineman. He's a guard. He's a kid we're hoping that could come in. Obviously, when you do a transfer like that, you're hoping that they can come in and either start or really compete in a hurry. We think he gives us overall depth at guard. He's a big old kid, probably out of shape a little bit, but I think once he gets in the shape he needs to be and does the things he needs to do, he's going to compete and make us better across the board in the O-line.
What kind of publicity do you think they'll generate with Kevin Hart? It's got to be one of the more famous.
I'm anticipating it. I've already got a call from a Reno newspaper wanting to talk. I said I can't talk about it right now. So, I talked with him about it when he committed to me. I just said, I would just assume keep this under the radar as long as we can, and we'll deal with it when we deal with it, knowing that we're going to have to deal with it before we get into the season. But it's really nothing. And we did, again, like I said, we did our due diligence. We talked to the coaches. I asked them some very pointed questions on the visit, and how could you possibly do what you did? Why would you, I talked about everything with him, every little element of it, every little lie of it. And he said, Coach, I was stupid. I didn't know how to get off the merry-go-round.
Obviously, a lot's been made about him, and I don't want to go on about him. I'm talking to some other kids too, but the thing that happened 4 years ago, do you feel like he's a much more mature guy and he's gone through so much?
Well, I offered him a scholarship.
So is that yes?
Yeah, I'm just saying he got a scholarship offered to him this time. Trying to make a joke a little bit. He's been through the ringer. He's been obviously it's going to happen again for him now. But he's a good kid that made a very untruthful mistake back in his youth, and has kind of lived through some things for 4 years, and we're willing to give him a shot to do something. There's no guaranteed spot for him. We've got 5 returning starters on the O-line. He knows it. He's got to come in and compete.